Okay, I'm back. So I am here primering, this is part two, putting a primer on my canvas. This is a canvas that I purchased and it was already primered. But in my last section, I showed you how I softened that out with two different types of sandpaper or sandblocks that I purchased. One was a 220 and one was an 80, and I double sanded it because when they give it to you from the manufacturer, it's pretty rough and crunchy feeling. So, but the trick is you're going to reprimer it again. So I cleaned them all up, got all the dust out of them. And here's what I do. I like to primer. I have my nice little cup here that I got my fun stickers on. And this cup I actually got from a lemonade stand. This whole entire thing was like a lemonade, fresh, yummy lemonade with like berries and stuff. And it was so good. So anyway, that is what I'm using there. And I take my primer, which is Artist Loft. I know it's academic level 1, so whatever. Too bad. White Gesso. White Gesso. So I'm going to take that and I am going to scoop. And I think this thing used to be a hair, like when you know when you dye your hair and you put a cap on and you pick the hair and pull it through the cap. Is anybody else there use stuff like this? Like I use this. This I used to do things. It was part of a hair dyeing kit that I used, and I use it for stuff. And I've got other things like this. You know what? I'll have to do a whole nother thing on showing all the tools I use that weren't actually meant for this purpose. But I've used this a lot. So this is kind of like my spoon. So I'm going to put it in my lemonade cup that I kept. And I'm going to spoon in some Gesso in here. Spoon, spoon, spoon. Gesso, Gesso, Gesso. I know, probably a real spoon would work. I just kind of grab stuff. It's not even because, oh, that's better than like using a real plastic spoon or anything. It's just, it was near me. And I was like, and I didn't want to throw it away because I didn't really use it. And I didn't want to throw it away. So I'm like, well, I can use this in art somehow. And so I put it in my art kit and it ended up becoming my like spatula. So there's my little spoon spatula. So I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to add in my Liquitex Basics Acrylic Primary Yellow. Yes, I am. I'm going to squeeze some of that in there. I like it. I like it a lot. And you know what? Even for these, I might even add, and I don't really have enough of this. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I have very little of this. Oh, I need more sienna. This is burnt sienna. I'm out of my burnt sienna. I'm going to squeeze in just a little burnt sienna. And you're probably like, why are you putting all this paint? Oop, can you see it in there? Why are you putting all this paint into your Gesso like that? Well, I like to have a warm background to start my paintings on instead of a white background. Who else likes to have a warm background? Or maybe you like to have a blue background to start on, a cool colored background. Again, another trick I learned during this whole art adventure is starting with a warm background because when you paint with acrylics, of course, I'm an over painter, just like I'm an over talker. And I paint and paint and paint. So I don't think any of my stuff shines through. But if it did, it will be little specks of beautiful yellow instead of just bright white specks everywhere, which just kind of gives your painting this glow. It's just really pretty. So why did I mix it with water? You're probably thinking, oh, isn't that breaking down the Gesso? No, because I want this to be more of a wash. So I want it to be a mixture of the primer, some yellow, and a wash. And so it doesn't have to be too thick for me, but it gives me a nice little coating. And I'm going to bring my first one over, and I am actually I have been searching for a better method. And if you have a brush that you like to use, please tell me, because I actually had bought this brush, which was so awesome for doing what I'm doing here. It was like the softest brush in the whole planet. And then I ended up using it for varnishing. And even though I washed it, it came out really hard and crunchy, and I've never been able to make it the same again. And then I'm starting to think, I've watched other of you out there, and some of you guys use this little spongy crafters thing, which these do have their place. I don't tend to paint with them, but I guess if you did, hey, it's art, so go for it. But most of us have these around. They're for painting the house, or if you're doing little craft things or whatever. I'm wondering, because I've watched other people, if this will help me from having streaks in my gesso, so in my primer, because sometimes brush strokes give you those brush strokes, and I don't want streaks. And even if I end up with streaks, it doesn't matter, because there's a part 3 of preparing my canvas. Guess what part 3 is going to be? I do see streaks in here still. You see the streaks? Yeah, I do see streaks. Oh, so part 3 will be to run in some sandpaper back over it again. So yeah, I feel like the streaks just as much as the brushes, but you tell me what you feel. Ooh, I'm shedding. I have a hair on my arm. Ew, that was tickly. All right. And you can message me or comment in the section what kind of brush you use for doing primering your canvases. What's a good brush? Is this the best thing to use? I don't know. So, yes, this is going to give me a nice warm background to start my paintings on. A nice, beautiful, warm background to start my paintings on. So it'll look like, it's glowing. No matter what I'm painting on here, it'll have a glow to it. The little bits that pop through. So you just kind of re-coat your entire thing. And the whole reason I'm doing this is because, and videoing it for you guys, is if you are new at kind of doing this stuff and you're thinking, oh, look, I've got this awesome already primed canvas. Know that that canvas is not it's still pretty crunchy. So if you want a smoother surface to do your work, and especially if you're one of those hyper realistic painters, you probably definitely want to do this. Again, I'm a painterly person. I love seeing all my brush strokes. So it's not as crucial for me. I do it more, does give me more control, and I can, what's the word? Control, it's like controlled chaos for me. And, oh, I just bought my camera again. And I can get a little bit more use out of my brushes. When I use the rougher canvases, my brushes get very, very rough because I'm a scrubber. Type in scrubber in the comments. I love seeing what you guys are. It makes me feel good if somebody else is a scrubber, if somebody else is painterly, if somebody else is a messy painter like me. I like to know my people. But then you fancy special hyper realistic people, you can comment too and tell me what you do versus what I do. So ta-da! I'm going to let these dry. And I am definitely not going to drink this out of my lemonade cup because this is not lemonade. However, I'm going to go find the lid because I have more canvases to do. And I can use this. Perfect little yellow, watery primer with a little bit of burnt sienna in there to give me some warmth. So there is part 2. Check me out later.